gonna get to know you. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna get to know you and what you're all about. We're gonna get to know just what makes you feel alive. We're gonna get to know how you build, lead, and thrive. Build, lead, and thrive. Voices of the Androscoggin.
Welcome to Build, Lead, Thrive, Voices of Androscoggin, a bi-monthly podcast that features in-depth conversations with the people shaping Androscoggin County. Each episode dives into personal stories, showcasing the leaders and entrepreneurs behind the region's economic and community vitality. Hi, I'm your host, Shanna Cox, President and CEO of the LA Metro Chamber. I'm joined by local talent, longtime friend, and our producer, Mark Turcotte. He doesn't get a mic today, you guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Together, Mark and I highlight the people building a stronger economy and vibrant community right here in our region, sharing stories of how they build, lead, and thrive. Today's episode is a special edition, focused on one of our community's favorite annual events, Taste the Harvest. It's a celebration of local food, local farms, and the chefs who bring them together in the heart of downtown Lewiston. Taste the Harvest connects restaurants and growers from across Androscoggin County, showcasing what's possible when local ingredients meet creativity. This year, we're also spotlighting the Eat Local Challenge, inviting everyone to try one local restaurant, local farm, local product each week, and we're going to be giving out prizes for folks who enter to win. All of this is supporting the people and places that keep our food economy thriving. So, to explore what local really means in our food scene, we're joined by several incredible guests, all crowded around a small table right now. These are the chefs, the community organizers, and restaurant owners behind Taste the Harvest. So, I think as we start today, I'm joined by Sherie and Stephanie and Shivam and Casey. You're going to hear from Evan a little bit later. So we might all chime in, but I'm going to start today by introducing first Stephanie. Stephanie Broido is the coordinator of the Good Food Council of Lewiston Auburn. Stephanie, did I say your last name right?
Yes. Great work.
With a first name like Shanna, I know the importance of getting names right. So Stephanie has worked across many aspects of Maine's food system, from small-scale farms and restaurants to community gardens. She weaves her love for the earth into her work, seeing intentional community engagement as the heart of the building of resilient and equitable food systems. Now, Sherie Blumenthal is a passionate advocate for food, land, and social justice with over 20 years. I've spent so many of those years with you, Sherie. Can we make it pretend like it's shorter? 20 years of experience cultivating gardens, farmers markets, and community partnerships. As the Director of Community Impact at Gather to Grow, formerly St. Mary's Nutrition Center, she supports the Lewiston Farmers Market and helps organize Taste the Harvest with us, bringing the chefs, the farms, and the vendors together into community for a night of celebration. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For having us.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So tell me a little bit of the backstory. When I think of why we do Taste the Harvest, which I'll touch on a little bit as you guys kind of share some, but when I think about why we do Taste the Harvest and what's important to that, why a chamber would get involved in local food systems, local food economy is really important to us here at the chamber. It represents a lot of small businesses. It represents a segment of our workforce, a segment of our local economy, and it just tastes good. It just also tastes good, makes you feel good. And so tell me a little bit more about your work together and, you know, those 20 years ago. So for me, it's 18. Way to have a head start, Sherie. But, you know, 20 years ago, I don't think you could have described it as a food movement, what you were getting started. And it has become a social justice, local food movement.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shanna. I'm very excited to be here. One of my favorite subjects to talk about in good community. And yeah, I think when I first came here as, I say a baby, because I was only in my 20s, there wouldn't have been the food scene, the food movement, or the local food system, or the local downtown we have, that we have today. And so I wanted to take us, on a little bit of a journey.
I love
going
that.
back even 20,
We're ready, we'll pack our
25
bags.
years ago. So even before I arrived,
Yeah.
actually as an AmeriCorps member. It's hard to imagine, but so much of what we've come to take for granted in our local food system actually didn't even exist yet. So none of the dozen or so community gardens across Lewiston and Auburn, no public fruit orchards, no school gardens, no local farm-to-school initiatives so our kids could have fresh food in their meals, no year-round farmers market, no food council advocating for food and farms at the policy level, no farms right just a few miles outside of Lewiston. We did not have the breadth of restaurants that serve cultural cuisines or locally sourced items, and we definitely did not have an awesome event like Taste the Harvest. So what we did have, though, and we had a lot, was a number of foundational elements, including rich agricultural land and heritage, a unique mix of mid-sized farms within 10 miles of the urban core, which includes longstanding farms that many of us still know and love today, like Blackie's, Bell Farms, Belanger's, Gilson's. Blackie's even operated a produce market, right, in town for a number of years.
Shout out so many of those farms.
Yeah.
Are source ingredients.
I know.
For
There's not an accident that they are named, but both because they're beloved, and they to this day, they are so active in our local food system. You know, those farmers were here, and what we also had was a lot of community energy and excitement. And so community leaders early on, like Coastal Enterprises, Inc., Bates College, the health system, St. Mary's Health System, Cultivating Community out of Portland and Gathered or Grown, then known by its even earlier name, Lots to Gardens, started to work together to harness that energy towards better understanding our local food landscape, building greater food security, so making sure folks, Lewiston today still has some of the highest rates of food insecurity, so making sure everybody had access to food, and increasing community engagement and support the revitalization efforts that were happening in our neighborhoods, because you really can't talk about one or without the other, right?
No, right.
We're such a small region. Urban revitalization and local food system growth and local economic growth kind of all come hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so over the next 2 decades, and with the leadership of a coalition I know is near and dear to your heart, Healthy Neighborhoods, there's pretty incredible and innovative urban development and research and action that led to both national recognition. Lewiston, for example, won the All-American City. And through many years of planning and engagement, we received a competitive multi-million-dollar award from HUD that has yielded the improved housing and urban development we continue to see today. And while all of that was happening, there was also really an exciting growth, very specific growth in our food system. So almost annual creation of community gardens in both Lewiston and later Auburn. We saw collaboration and investment from schools with support from local and national partners like Food Corps that helped build school gardens across 4 of our 5 elementary schools, and a farm-to-school movement that increased school purchasing power of farm fresh foods. Many of the farms I listed before now are selling directly to our schools, that help give students more food choice also for culturally preferred foods.
Just on a side note there, we had every year we do annual awards, and for annual awards we're recognizing businesses and community leaders across a variety of categories. And in this beautiful full circle small world moment, because we, the staff, just in case people want to know how the sausage is made or to pull back the curtains or whatever your preferred metaphor is, we don't nominate people for annual awards outside of the President's Award, nor do we finagle with anything in the background. There's a committee, the nominations come in from the public, and Alyssa Roman was recognized, and she works within the school system, but her actions through this work that Sherry's talking about actually has put dollars directly into some of those same local foods and local food producers while putting local and healthy food on the tables in the schools, of which she has been recognized in so many other broader landscapes too. And so I just wanted to little footnote there, cool
great
full circle
shout out.
moment.
Alyssa really has been there almost from day one, from the farm to food to school movement, and
she's
now,
like a badass lunch lady. She's not just a lunch lady. We don't have to edit that out. We're gonna keep that one, Mark.
And a badass lunch man is Chris Piercy now on the Auburn side, which has done such incredible. And he just shows up and shows up and shows up, and and Stephanie knows that firsthand, and we're so grateful.
That's the move in the movement. I just and
that I'm talking about food systems, and sometimes people don't really. It sounds big and heady and nebulous, but it's all the things in your community that food touches food and the people that connect to it. So it's
how it moves around.
Right. Yeah. Including all the restaurants that we get to highlight today. And so over this time, there was all this exciting growth. We also saw the creation of something near and dear to my heart, which is the Lewiston Farmers Market Association in 2004, with founding members, again, Jilson's Farm and Verrill's Farm, and farmers that now make up the New Roots Cooperative, all folks who were there more than 15 years ago that are still here today, farming and growing food and selling it to restaurants and distributors around here. And our market originally took place in Kennedy Park and was the first in the state to accept SNAP EBT. So that dual mission of trying to make sure farmers have a place to sell their food while also making sure folks who need it most can put fresh food on their plates. And we were also really integral to the statewide collaboration of bringing the Maine Harvest Bucks program here. And so today there's a robust farmers market in Kennedy Park that specializes in African crops, and then we run the Lewiston Farmers Market every single week. Sundays, we'll talk more about that later. And so many of the pieces that we have today that weren't here are alive and growing and robust. And that includes something else that developed along the way, which is the Good Food Council of Lewiston Auburn. It was around 2012, which alongside Gather to Grow, farm, and municipal partners was at the forefront of driving policy change for the region. Because while we imagined like all these great programs and services and initiatives, we needed real policy change to help shift the landscape to be really fertile, to use a pun, for this good work and the good change. And I'm going to actually pass it off to Stephanie because she's going to be able to talk more about that.
She does all the things for the Food Council now.
She does.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do. So.
Yeah. I remember when you used to, though. So it's so nice to. Stephanie, tell us about the Good Food Council.
So the Good Food Council of Lewiston Auburn was formed in the summer of 2012 to create and support improvements to the food system of the Lewiston Auburn community. I thought I'd take a zoom out and define what a food system is.
Yeah, so every time I talk to people, and before you attempt that, which is
a hard one to define.
I know it's so hard, but I think one of the things, so when we started Taste the Harvest, which is kind of like under the umbrella of the action plan, I'm sure you're going to touch on through the Food Council. I started talking about it from the lens of Taste the Harvest is an event that supports our local food economy and lifts up the elements of the food system and creates connections across the yada, yada, yada. And the reality is, what is most useful is when I talk about Taste the Harvest as a fun fall street festival where you get to have local ingredients used by local chefs in ways they might not be able to normally prepare a dish. And that it's just like a nice, fun, delicious evening. Because it's so hard to describe a food system. It's so hard to describe an economy, let alone a food economy. And I just want to get people excited and engaged and meeting their farmers and talking to chefs and chefs connecting with local food sources. And so I used to talk about food systems, and now I talk about it after they've had their first bite at the event.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So good luck, lady. Let's hear how you're going to describe it.
It starts with my dad, who's born and raised Brooklyn, coming in the farmer's market with me and getting a tomato and raving about why it's so much better than what he gets at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And that is really the difference. And then it's the same thing going to a restaurant, and when a restaurant features that local farm, you taste it, right?
Yeah, so. It's that. So tell us about food systems and help me make sense to people.
All right, let's see what I can do here. Food system is all of the processes and infrastructure that is needed to get food from the field or ocean to consumers and beyond. It includes many aspects: production, processing, wholesale and retail distribution, and waste management. It supports systems such as transportation, education, city and town governments, and emergency food providers, among others.
Yeah, so just like that's a light touch, right? I will say on the waste management piece gets left out a lot. All of our silverware and food service items for Taste the Harvest are compostable.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, we work for it.
Yeah, and I don't know if Stephanie touches on it, but that is actually one of the actions, and is really making sure, because it's a full circle. If you're going to look at a diagram of food system, you're going to see
a circle.
If it's working the way we want it to, you're going to see a circle, right? What inputs and outputs, what comes in and what goes out, in hopefully sustainable ways.
Yeah.
And there's a new compost company that popped up in Androscoggin County. Maine Compost Co.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
I don't know if I've connected with them enough, but we could be connecting with them about the event.
Maybe.
Yeah, that sounds great. I hope that you're going to touch on the local food action plan, because that's really that's the catalyst for Taste the Harvest in the first spot. I was myself a little baby chamber executive.
Yeah, you were.
I was in
your coming out.
It was a little bit of a coming out party. So I was, I'm a resident of Lewiston. I've raised my kids in the public schools here, and so I watched Lots to Gardens kind of evolve over the years. I watched the Good Food Council be implemented, worked in community with the Good Food Council, and was doing work helping plan and create the local food action plan version 1. And it's Sherie, which was a big part of what actually got the plan to kind of be a document and a strategy that could make sense, was I think my second or third day on the job at the chamber. And I was so excited to bring the chamber and the lens of business and economy into the space that's like, is a little heady and is a little like food system. So like lots of farmers in the rooms. There was some, and I say this with love because I also am a policy wonk. So like no shade thrown, but a lot of policy wonk people in the room, and was excited to be able to come into the room and talk about business and commerce through the lens of food systems and food economy. So
yeah, maybe we talk a little bit about that, and then when we talk about who's leading it, we can go back to how the council is taking it forward.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, Shanna's continuing on the train of like what has happened over the last however many decades, and yeah, it was 2019. There was an opportunity, so all this great work happened before us. And there was this great opportunity offered through the EPA to bring municipal and community leaders together in the same place to both vision and build a plan out for the local food system economy. And it was called Local Foods, Local Places. And we jumped right on that. And we had a 3-day community process with workshops and tours, and all the leaders Shanna just talked about were all in the same room, which was really unique. So we'd done all this work, but we'd never said, hey, everybody who's been touching this work for so long, let's get together and let's actually see what it's like to vision for our region, Lewiston, Auburn, and to build out a plan for it. And that's exactly what happened. The plan emerged after the 3 days. It was 16 actions emerging from 4 goals that everybody in that room came together. And we walked in with the goals, and folks then built out the actions. And it included existing work that was already in process, such as securing a new permanent location for the farmers market, or sustainable futures for land to grow food, and pursuing ordinances for policy change, which is a big part of the council's work. And it also included exciting new work like the creation of Commercial Kitchen and Market.
Which is having a big moment right now.
Yes, Stephanie will mention it later. You may have seen it in the papers, the Lewiston Auburn Community Market. Yeah. And it also included, for the first time ever, imagining a local food brand. What does it look like for Lewiston Auburn to have a food scene here that people think about? People think of Portland and they associate local food and they have an idea, but we are not Portland. And I don't want to, this can come off, we don't want to be. We want to be who we are. We're a little bit gritty, but we're really authentic, and we have awesome things happening. So how do we shine a light on that? And that was all in the plan as well. And, it really coalesced more than 20 years of this community-driven research and efforts and collaborative action with an emphasis on neighborhood revitalization and fair and just food, access to food. But the best part was it had lots of voices and lots of people touching it. And then after the creation, 4 years of great work ensued despite a global pandemic.
With
a number of exciting milestones reached, including the first ever Taste the Harvest, led by the Chamber, who was one of the leaders of the plan. And then in 2023, it was clear that this plan, with lots of actions sunsetting or evolving, needed to be updated. And we did yet another year-long community-driven update process, which we had focus groups and surveys and stakeholder sessions, which culminated in a 100-person community gathering to finalize the emerging work. And what resulted is what we now call the Local Food Action Plan of Lewiston Auburn.
All of this food system work, all of the work that we're doing to align strategies, to, create, our work, there's so much other work going on that you guys are hearing about, but at the chamber, kind of our engagement in the plan, our ownership, and I would even say accountability within the plan, are these pieces around helping support a local food identity by lifting up the perception and really promoting the region of Lewiston, Auburn. We have incredible amounts of acreage that is farming within our municipal boundaries. That's another defining feature between us and Portland. If we were, to distinguish ourselves from the Portland region, I think that's a really big one. And so, our commitment at the chamber is really to help that branding piece, to support the marketing and the messaging and getting the word out about it. And for us, it's definitely about the food. It's about the local food producers or value-added food producers. But it comes full circle. If all of that food is being produced locally, but we can't highlight it or get it to people locally, then we just see that as a really special spot the chamber can be in terms of bridging relationships, creating connections, and helping, another piece of that circle stay connected. And so part of that means that I get to sit here with two folks actively engaged in owning restaurants, preparing food, as any business owner, probably doing QuickBooks and marketing and ordering and inventory, and the list goes on. And so I'm just really pleased to introduce you to Shivam. Shivam Kumar is a Lewiston-based entrepreneur. He wears many, many hats. He's a community leader, but he also helps run, and has for I don't know how long, but we'll hear more from Shivam in a second, helps run Mother India, which is a family-owned restaurant that's been in the downtown business community. It's a staple for more than 15 years. Give me a fact check.
Yeah, since 2009. So we're into.
You're in 16.
We're into 16. Yep.
Yeah, see,
Exactly.
That's incredible. He brings business insight and cultural pride to the local dining scene, continuing his family's legacy both through hospitality and real estate. You're like a Renaissance man, if you will. Shivam is also joining us with Casey. So Casey Peacock is one of the owners. She's a co-owner of the Blue Feather, a restaurant and bar offering a, quote, main casual, slightly upscale dining experience in downtown Lewiston. I can just say it is my favorite moment being in that space. When we walked in, as you were kind of opening up, Casey, you walk in and it is you're immediately put at ease, and you still have this really great dining experience, and that that blend is just so unique. And as a mom, it's hard to find a place like that you can bring your family to. So Casey's co-owner with her sister, Allie, and they're bringing creativity and hospitality and local flavor to every dish, from shrimp tacos to Boston cream pancakes, which I can personally vouch for the Boston cream pancakes. They're incredible. And in a full circle moment, I said I've been, living and working in this community for 18 years. I got my start in Fuel, which was the original restaurant in the location of the Blue Feather, and I remember being just absolutely ecstatic about having Mother India as a neighbor, and Eric Agrin teaching me, so he was the owner of Fuel, just teaching me the competition, particularly for restaurants on the same street. It was to not think of it in a way that other folks would. As other restaurants opened up on Lisbon Street, he took great pride in there being another restaurant opening up. He didn't see it as competition. The more that we could get restaurants co-located in the same space and people saying I'm going to drive down to Lisbon Street Park and I'll figure out where I'm going to eat, or maybe I'll have an appetizer here or a drink there and a dinner there, that was a really positive thing. And years later, when I'm sitting around in these charrettes thinking about what it means to create a local food brand and identity in this region and what the benefit of it was Eric's voice in the back of my head saying, the more that you can get that critical mass and that density, the better we benefit individually as restaurants, the more we benefit as a community creating that perception and that reality, and the better it benefits the region. And so, Casey and Shivam, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
16 years ago, your family, Shivam, is investing in the downtown. Less than a year ago, or maybe the wheels were turning a year ago, Casey, but you're saying, I'm gonna double down, put my money down, make a commitment on the same street. Between the two of you, what made you make that choice at two very different points in Lewiston's history. And what does it mean to you to like wake up, show up on Lisbon Street each day and be in the food business, the restaurant business, the hospitality industry?
I'll let Casey take that one first.
Okay. Me and Allie had the idea to open our own place after me and Allie were working for the same place previous to opening the Blue Feather. And unfortunately, they went out of business, so me and Allie stayed home for a while, and we didn't really jump into anything. We kind of sat around and were like, okay, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We know we can do something on our own. We've been in the industry since we were teenagers.
Yeah.
So going on over 15 years of experience in the industry, so we said, well, why don't we just open our own place? We looked around at places, and 49 Lisbon Street popped up. We went and we checked it out. We really liked it. And then
It's beautiful.
it really came together.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. Yeah.
So we actually didn't jump on it right away. We went and looked at it. And like I said, we really liked it, but we waited because you hear about downtown Lisbon Street, how it's hard to thrive as a business on downtown Lisbon Street. So we weighed the pros and cons for a few months. We needed to do something. We were like, okay, well, we need to make a decision. So are we going to do this or not? So we went and looked at it one more time. And, we said to ourselves, well, we have the experience.
Yeah, you do.
We know what we're doing. Other businesses like Mother India, like Orchid, those places are surviving down here.
Yeah.
So we can survive too. So we did it. We signed the lease, and there we were. We turned it around in 6 weeks, and
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sherry's laughing for us. Like, it was an insane 6 weeks. Yeah. It had to have been.
Oh, it was. I mean, we're talking 15 hours a day me and Allie spent there. We got the kids roller skating because there's nothing in the building right now. We've got no tables, no chairs. They're here just hanging out, and me and Allie are just on the spreadsheets and cleaning, and and then it just came together, and
fast becoming a local favorite.
we've heard really good things.
Yeah.
So that's been encouraging.
The Boston cream pancakes were an
Yeah.
unexpected gift. I took friends there for brunch right after you opened, and we ordered the Boston cream pancakes as a table appetizer at breakfast. and then we ordered our food afterwards. And I'm just going to tell you, zero regrets, and everybody should do it. Yeah. Shivam, I know that's how you roll, because I've seen your foodie photos that you post as you're out and about enjoying other samples of other restaurants. If you don't appetizer breakfast, you're failing at life. You just got to start if you don't already.
Yeah, you just got to start. I think that one of the things I've been super slammed, so I've been slacking on the food post, but I'm gonna pick it back up soon.
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna go to their place, and I'm gonna have a food post coming out pretty soon. Okay,
Well,
there you go.
And for you and anyone who's listening through the end of October, take that picture and post it with the hashtag LAMCC Eat Local. Oh, yeah. And you're going to get entered to win. Like, literally doing what you're already doing. You'll get entered to win farmers market bucks, farmers market goods, gift cards to local restaurants, just by posting the photo with the hashtag.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. So for one, I just want to say, thank you for having me. This is great. I'm very excited for Taste the Harvest downtown. I think this is the 5th or 6th year, maybe even just 4th.
It's over 5 years. There was a year that we had to skip.
Okay, perfect.
So
we'll still go with the 5th.
Yeah, I love that.
5th year.
Thank
like
you.
it. I like
yes.
it. Okay.
Because it happened in spirit.
Let's round up. Yeah, it was the year that, the year of canceling Taste the Harvest was the year that birthed the Eat Local Challenge, though, and now we do both. So, what, door closes, window opens, something, ta-da! Isn't that how it goes, you guys? That's that's totally how it goes. Yeah.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
You were one of our first yeses for the Taste the Harvest. You've been you said yes when everyone else thought we were crazy. And you saying yes was how other people, we used it to get the people to say yes. Shivam.
Okay. Well, amazing. To talk about a little bit about Mother India's journey, back in 2009, when we looked at downtown Lisbon Street and this specific location, this was a second Indian restaurant for my family. They own one up in Bangor. It's called Taste of India on Main Street in Bangor. That one was opened in the early 2000s there. So, we had done a lot of research, but we thought, all right, well, we'll be hitting the footprint of St. Mary's and Central Maine Medical Center along with Bates College, which is still going on today. Actually, we do a lot of catering events and stuff like that for them all the time. So,
Totally.
So it's been going really well. But yeah, I don't think that we ever saw it coming to 15 to 16 years. I think we were probably just looking at, I don't know exactly how many years, but maybe 5 to 10. Probably be okay, this is phenomenal. But
You've
but yeah,
slayed that goal.
But we're still going and still thriving. We've seen a lot of changes on Lisbon Street specifically over the years, but I think that currently where we are, it's been pretty positive, and also welcoming and seeing new businesses on downtown Lisbon Street is awesome, and if that also means that we can contribute to any events like Taste the Harvest, we're always more than willing and happy to do them as long as we have enough lead time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's why we get to you. I think we give everybody a break the week after Taste the Harvest, and then we're following up with, hey, how was your experience? And are you in for next year? Because we want lead time matters, particularly for restaurants so it's funny, in this work, the chamber works with you guys in this room. You see us mostly working with chefs, right? And then Sherie understands this, and Stephanie too. But then the other big stakeholder group that we are working with, organizing and trying to the logistics of the event, is farmers. And I can tell you, completely different schedules, really, really similar habits. So thanks, I'm not going to have time to read email. Farmers are up super early and they're in bed before our restaurant folks are churning out the second table turn. Our restaurant folks are replying to emails at 12:30 in the morning after midnight. And so finding meaningful ways to bridge those two groups and to adapt our communication and event organizing and logistics style to two very different groups is it's a wild learning experience, and it actually is. It serves us in our purposes of understanding where in the greater food system circle that you're hearing about today, that what is our potential for creating conduits of communication or creating relationships, and what does that look like? Because it's a wild experience. And I'm not a farmer, but I like Casey spent 16, 17 years in the hospitality industry, and so my cycle, my general, I'm up at night and mornings are a little bit harder, is more aligned with restaurants than farmers. So it's been a good but interesting learning experience. But you've just been an incredible partner all along, Shivam. When we were we want to do this, we want to shut down the street. So I don't think we've really talked about that yet. But for Taste the Harvest, we shut down the street from Ash to Main on Lisbon Street. We turned that entire block into a festival. We have different restaurants, so we've got 7 restaurants, 8 dishes, 8 different food stations, 17 farmers and artisans, many of whom are through our relationship with the farmers market, a photo booth, a beer and wine garden, lots of opportunities to make campfires, legal campfires in the middle of the street. And we've cleared it. There's permitted, fire department signed off on it. And each year we add a new element and expand it. So the first time that we had a conversation with you, Shivam, there was nothing to picture. You didn't have a reference point, and you still said yes. Yeah, go ahead and shut down the street in front of my restaurant, Shanna. This is going to be awesome. And you said yes. And you've said yes every year since. Why?
I think it's just been, you guys are, a really good organization. And you guys have always been very supportive and all about trying to help businesses and trying to connect businesses. So for us, I do think that when I approached my family, they did think that
I do remember that year.
They were like, what's going on?
Your mom's been lovely every year since.
But I've just been like, hey, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? So I think that, we're all about welcoming different. And even if that means shutting down the street, which, it is a little bit of a unique scenario because the customer base that we want walking downtown is going to say, whoa, what's going on? And I think the first couple years we weren't allowing anybody else from the public even able to come down that way. But
there wasn't much for them if they didn't buy tickets. Like, we didn't block the pedestrians, but we really evolved it into a more accessible street festival, in part because that was some important feedback for us to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that overall it's amazing, and for what it's come to, I'm pretty excited to the result where it is now. In the beginning it was a lot of unknown, but that's normally for anybody getting started in any industry.
That's the entrepreneur in you. That's the yes, I'm open to risk taking. It's why you said yes.
Absolutely.
Thanks
and
for that.
Another piece that I would like to add is that, we've also year after year changed up our main item that we offer. And it's normally, with whatever you guys would like it to be. For us, that we don't really select, to be honest,
You're
just
so
because
good to us.
we want it to fit the profile of what you guys are looking to promote and put out there. So this way it is appealing if there's another restaurant just doing chicken and veggies. Well, this year we're doing lamb, and also we're also doing it an appetizer, whereas we're taking on 2 rather than just
That's how much you love
1.
us.
So
and this event.
we're excited.
High five for doubling down in 2025, Shivam.
You got it. Anytime.
So it's a lamb medley dish is the dish that you're doing this year, and we did get local lamb, and then listen, Dawn, shout out to Dawn, our operations manager, who the logistics for this event is insane. The amount of this many pounds of cabbage and this many quarts of cream from this place, and it's wild. And that her distribution and pickup plan, it covers 4 business days and more than 100 miles in the backing and forthing. And this year I was like, hey Dawn, take a picture at each farm that you're at too. And she's like, sure, Shanna, I'll just add that into the mix. Today she's like, so it turns out I'm not a photographer, but here you go. And she only just started doing the rounds for this year. But what are some of the vegetables in the dish this year that we're bringing to you? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Whoa.
I know, pulling your chef brain into the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. For starters, I just want to talk about Dawn. I think that the lamb is selected because of her specifically, because I know that she's a huge fan.
We do have some influence in the background.
But with that being said, the lamb medley has zucchini, summer squash, let's see, carrots. We've got, I believe, cauliflower,
right.
Broccoli. Yeah, locally sourced lamb, onions as well. They're 100%. Garlic,
lots of garlic, as I recall.
Ginger as well. So, we've got quite a bit going on there. But the samosas, we're keeping it pretty basic. It's green peas and potatoes, but they're spiced, and we also got some tamarind sauce as well with that. So, pretty exciting stuff. And
my belly's growling now. Thanks.
Not to mention the white rice. So there's that too. The rice is very particular.
Well,
that's a big deal.
That's what you want to put the lamb medley on top of, right? It's
Absolutely.
I would. I don't know how it's supposed to be served, but just dump it on the rice for me. And give me a spoon.
We'll be serving the rice with the lamb medley on top, and then the samosa maybe in a separate container, or it's gonna go right on top of that too. Who knows?
I should know because we just ordered that, but I don't recall.
Okay.
Right now.
Nope.
Someone out there knows though, and it's someone out there's job to know, and you're glad it's not mine.
I'm sure we'll figure it out, just like we always have every single year. How about that?
No, you always, yes, it's that. I know that you might have to run. Is there anything else you want to share or offer or ask, or people should come to Taste the Harvest because?
I would say people should come to Taste the Harvest only because not only because. Well, a key part of it would
primarily
because it's a unique event. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in the state of Maine. We'll go with that.
That's true.
But also because you're supporting local, which is huge, but also we're highlighting businesses on the lower end, or not just lower end, but Lewiston. It's not I think in the beginning...
We even snuck in an Auburn business this year.
Yeah, in the beginning, I do think that we were only choosing...
It was literally
Lisbon
just on
Street.
that block.
Yeah, and now I see that
Thanks for noticing.
it's expanded quite a bit, just like everything else expands year after year. But also just hearing about the things that I can't even keep up with, but like the beer garden or the fireplaces that are, you know, brought to code or made sure they're done the right way.
They're legal, I swear.
Yeah, so you got like those variables to the equation that are like you have something for everybody, which is so important.
Yeah.
And it's not just limited to, oh well, just one business downtown, and that's the only thing we're featuring. We're featuring multiple different businesses from Lewiston and Auburn.
Nutty Nutties from Auburn is
There we
giving
go.
us
There we go.
local sugar pumpkin made pumpkin whoopie pies. I think with chocolate chips, if I was to be accurate.
Wow.
Yeah, and local cream in the like just keeping the local ingredient list, because if you come to Taste the Harvest, you'll see at each restaurant station the local farms that are featured and the ingredients that were used, and so that's another key place where Don's making sure our stuff is straight in the back end of things there. It's a wild experience. I'm so excited you said yes 6 years ago when we were brainstorming this and trying to launch the first year, and that you keep saying yes. I think being such an established business in Lewiston, in the downtown, and then making this commitment to us for all the reasons that you just said is part of why we're able to invite people like Casey and Ellie and the Blue Feather in. And so, like, what made you say yes?
So we said yes. I mean, we thought about it for a few weeks because we weren't even open yet.
I mean, it was a huge ask for you
when
guys.
Katie came, and we know that Taste the Harvest is a good event that brings people to downtown Lewiston, and it is like that circle of life thing where the local farmers and you know, the local restaurants using the local food, the customers and guests who come to your restaurant who buy that, and then that just gets right back into the economy. So it is that circle of life thing.
Thanks again for
It's a
saying
special
yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Can we hear what they're serving?
Yeah. So tell
yeah.
everybody.
So we are serving.
I'm excited for this. I mean, I'm just excited for all 8 dishes, but
Now I'm really hungry.
yeah.
They're super yummy. We're doing cinnamon apple egg rolls with a apple cider cream cheese dip. We're getting apples from Wallingford's and the apple cider from Wallingford's as well. And we're getting the cream cheese from
I think Pineland.
Pineland.
That's what Dawn picked up
Yeah.
yesterday.
So
That's her
yeah.
photo yesterday. I haven't seen it, but I'm curious if it's like a brick of cream cheese
Oh,
selfie.
yeah.
If so, we'll
Oh,
put it
yeah.
out. You'll want to see that. I doubt that she would have done that, but I would have loved it if she would. Yes to an egg roll. Can you put all of my desserts in a deep fryer, please, and then put it in my face? I think it's genius, and I'm excited. And you did a great job using a couple of different things from local places. Thanks again.
Yeah,
for
thank
saying
you.
yes. No, I appreciate it. And before I let these two off the hook, I would just add, for anyone who we would love for you to get tickets. You can get an 8-course for $85. We introduced a 4-course pack this year for both budgets and stomachs. Sometimes 8 courses is a little too much. They're like 4-ounce or 5-ounce portions. They're not 10-ounce portions. I will say all of you guys tend to still serve a little heavy, and sometimes it is a 6-ounce portion, or so there's a reason you can't finish them all, which is not the end of the world, and no one ever complains about getting their values worth, right? And we introduced a vegetarian option this year, which your samosas is part of. And your dessert is also vegetarian friendly.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, y'all are open that night. So we have a beer and wine garden, but get a cocktail at the Blue Feather. They're featuring a whole bunch of cool drinks this month. You can still grab takeout and sit outside and enjoy the music during the event from Mother India. You can go in and order food. If you didn't get tickets, please do. We'd love to see you. But the whole street is open. The farmers are there. There's lots of opportunity already to connect, to enjoy the evening and to sample things. And you can do it with or without the tickets. But whether it's Taste the Harvest or any night or brunch of the week,
That's right.
I hope you guys are checking out, the Blue Feather and Mother India. Shout out to Orchid, who is also participating and wasn't able to join us on the podcast. But Sam has also been an incredible partner each of the years that she's been there on the street that we've been able to. So thank you guys. Feel free to get back to your dinner shift, and thanks for giving me your time. I know how hard that is.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it. And I just want to mention that we've ran out of food every single time, every year. So
High five again.
it's been great.
It's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah, it's never a bad
No,
thing.
we love
It's always awesome.
So we're joined by Evan. Evan Mancini is the owner and chef behind Mancini's Italian Deli. It's a micro deli in downtown Lewiston known for handmade pasta, sauces, and breads, crafted with generations-old family recipes. You guys, he showed up with a photo book. We're going to get a photo of that so that people can see it, because that's my love of cooking, is a family heritage recipe. I've got a fun story on that one, too. So what began as a family project has become a community favorite, and pretty quickly I got my first sandwich, I don't know, within 2 weeks of you opening, and have probably averaged a sandwich a week since. So if that tells you anything. But your focus is on authentic, from scratch Italian cooking. And so when, you've opened in the last year, and, we do Taste the Harvest once a year. And so immediately we were like, oh my God, can we get Mancini's to be engaged? Because you already embody what we are trying to do and trying to amplify and expand with Taste the Harvest, which is so when we work with a restaurant, what we usually start with is, can we introduce you to local farms or food producers? Here is an ingredient list and all of the people that we work with and have relationships with. And our hope in doing that through Taste the Harvest, of many of the outcomes we aim for, is that a restaurant or a chef will have one new relationship, and they will contact that person and buy something local at some point in the year after the event and start to build their own relationships. And for you were like, here's my favorites. And you already had farms probably in your saved contacts, which I love. And so you kind of get it already, which is why you were such a good fit. And you said, yes, I will be part of Taste the Harvest. Thanks again for that.
Yeah, I have a problem saying no. That's become evident.
It's not my problem today.
But I'm super happy to be part of it. But sometimes I'm like, man, I forgot I even said yes to that. This interview, I completely forgot about it until.
No, you're in good you're in good stead though.
Yep. So I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to the interview. I read some of the prompts and some of the things we're going to be going over.
Yeah.
While I was walking in, so I'm ready to fire off the cuff. I'm sure I can make it through.
It is a casual conversation, and I always like to tell people I make sure I come prepared with a little bit of background and a couple of good questions, and it's a good day if I don't get to any of them.
Yeah.
Right. It's nice to be there and make sure you've got something to lean back on, and so. I guess I'd love to hear from you, what made you pick that location? What made you say yes to downtown Lewiston? What made you say, other than because you can't say no, what made you say yes to Taste the Harvest? And how does some of that line up with, what you're already doing in terms of embracing local? You were just saying before we started that you were at a farm-to-table mountaintop something or other.
Yeah, Rock Mountain Farm. We're using
Yeah,
their beef for Taste the Harvest.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to unpack. It'll take me a few moments, but I think I can get through it. So
yeah, take your time.
I worked for 4 or 5 years as in a slight executive assistant role for a gentleman that had a cannabis company and a weatherization business that would insulate historic and relatively high-end buildings throughout the state of Maine, Bates College, North Yarmouth Academy. So I spent a lot of years underneath him, and I realized I was kind of capped at where I was at.
Yeah.
And so I had this genius idea of buying a food truck. That was a horrible idea. I look back
It was
at it.
a gateway drug to the restaurant, though.
Yeah, that's what segued me into where we're at now. I still have the food truck. I'd like to do something with it. I don't know what, but it started with the food truck, and one day I ended up listing on this platform. I was like, I don't know if I like the food truck thing. I like food. I ate out a lot. I like the culture and the hustle and bustle of it. I liked working hard too. I got to the point there of 4 or 5 years.
If you're in hospitality, if you're you're a chef, you have to like working hard. There's like, you can't.
Yeah, and some people get it from, the reward for some people is different. Some people, they send 100 emails a day, and they sit at a desk, they check every single box. That is a hard day's of work for them, and that is. And don't get me wrong, but to me, I didn't feel.
He's looking at me when he says that.
No,
I have to
just
say, it's
didn't
nowhere
feel-
nearly as fulfilling as your hard day, and I've done both.
Yeah.
I like your day better.
Yeah, well, not every day. And some days I aspire to have a day like yours too. I'm
I'll
like,
trade
man, I
you.
wish I could sit at
I'll
the
trade
desk.
you.
But I worked at a farm when I was younger, and so I always liked, being tired to some extent at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we started catering, and I was like, I wanted to up how much we could charge. I wanted to try to generate more revenue from our catering, and the main easiest route was to be able to provide some type of liquor service. And so when I started looking at Maine's laws regarding how you can furnish and cater liquor, you have to have a brick and mortar. And so that started the hunt to find the smallest brick and mortar I could find.
Nailed it.
To expand the catering. I was like, it was more like a private chef thing. We didn't cater 90 people events. We showed up with a team of like 4 or 5 people. We served the food. We brought the dishes. We created the atmosphere. We set your table. We printed your menus.
Dream date night.
It was like everything was cooked there. So really it was like, I just need the space. I don't even really need to prep anything. I just need to be able to get a liquor license. Flash forward, I have no liquor license now. The sandwich shop is completely taken over. So that kind of went to the back burner. But in doing one of those events and working with the gentleman I was working with, we did a pop-up dinner at Blue Jay. And Jenna was like, hey, there's this other space right behind. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I
Shout out to Jenna. Thanks, Jenna.
Yes, no,
Jenna.
and you'll hear more about this too.
Jenna from Blue Jay.
Yeah, just
Yes.
give her a chef property.
Oh yeah, Jenna. Yeah, Jenna from Blue Jay. I think everyone knows Jenna from Blue Jay.
Yeah.
It's like she is
Great coffee, great espresso.
Great avocado
coffee.
toast.
Amazing
great, yeah.
matcha. I'm not a matcha person, but I will
Oh,
drink
you
Jenna's
must
matcha.
visit her every day. Get a little
Oh, yeah.
caffeinated for your work day because you're neighbors.
Yeah, well, we have there's a couple local businesses that have like a little tab thing or whatever. And I was doing that at one point, and then I realized every single person at Mancini's was going in and getting a coffee. I was like, how am I buying this much coffee a week? I was like, no more tab dinner. No, so that we did an event there, and she's like, there's a space out back. And weirdly enough, I lived across the street where Guthrie's is, in that building for like maybe 3-ish years. And at that point, my brother had rented out where Mancini's was and was selling shoes. Not like to the general public. He'd go to like the Goodwill bins down in I think they have a couple of them like in Gorham where you can go and thrift through like bulk amounts of shoes.
Yeah.
And then he'd spend the day there and he'd clean them, and then he'd list them on eBay and Amazon and stuff like that. And so it was full circle, It was like, she's like, I have this space. I was like, oh my God, I know this space. Gannon was in there. Before that was Richard Dahlquist. I don't know if you guys know Richard Dahlquist. He was the art teacher for Edward Little. Right around my time, I believe he's since passed.
Are you an
but
Edward Little graduate?
I am. I'm a Red Eddie.
Ho ho!
Class of 2014.
All right, all right.
Yep. The old
I
school.
raised some Blue Devils,
Oh, good for you.
so I always love a little good comrade. Well, thank you.
Yeah. No, I know. It's like, I have had a great. I was a skier, so we had a couple Lewiston people on the Edward Little team.
Yeah.
So there was no
There's
competition.
so much
for
more
us like there was.
collaboration, unless it's the Battle of the Bridges, then all bets are off, and it's really arch rivals. But aside from that, because there's crossover on track, there's crossover in theater. LRTC is a bridge between the two schools.
You just end up bumping into people too. There was a lot of people from Lewiston that I was great friends with, had more of a relationship with them than sometimes the people of Auburn. I never really know. Like my mom always, she's like, you guys don't realize how big the separation was back in the day, and I'm like, I would never know.
Yeah, I've heard
it's like
the stories.
this is, to us. It seems like we all grew up together.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how Mancini's came to be. I had fully intended on it being catering focused.
Then you made these really good sandwiches,
And it kind of
these
spiraled out of
really good
control.
dishes.
Yeah.
And now you just have to keep doing that for the rest of us that you've got hooked.
Yeah. We constantly make adjustments. Not saying no. It's like last week, we operate, so we're 350 square feet. If you take in all the equipment, the deli cases, I call it the lobby. I think it's maybe 40 square feet or something. That's where people can stand. We probably work with maybe 150 square feet. And so that's insane. 150
It really
square
is.
feet. We cater places at the bathrooms larger than probably where we have to work. And so, just to circle back of the dishes and stuff like that. It's fun to constantly be creative and push the limit. But it's also we're working at 150 square feet.
Yeah.
Last week we did Lewiston Housing Authority's luncheon. That was 70 people. The next day we had a 90-person potato harvest dinner. We're cooking pizza on top of potatoes that are wrapped, because our pizza gets cooked in the morning and it gets sliced, and then we rethermalize it per order. It sits at room temp, kind of like a pronto pizza you get from Monty's in Portland.
Yeah.
So we have 90 potatoes in this oven for this potato harvest dinner, and we have to cook the pizzas for people that are coming in on the very top of the potatoes in this much room of the oven. So it's like, and then the next day we have a 40-person, 6-course farm-to-table dinner. So it's like, we're breaking down whole chickens out back on this small prep table. We have people making sandwiches out front, and everyone's working together in like 150 square feet. Like at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we just did that. It's like everyone.
Serious.
Like,
how many people are on your team?
it fluctuates, because we pull. When I started with catering, there was no team. It was like, hey, I cooked with you once. Do you guys know Carrie Landry?
Free on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. So Carrie Landry introduced me to this really cool guy, Kevin Peters. Kevin was a sous chef for Bon Vivant. It's like, in my opinion, Kevin is the biggest untapped culinary talent in.
Don't let the word get out.
In Lewis and Auburn. If you ever want, I will totally plug Kevin every day, because he is just he's a great cook and a great guy. He's the head chef over at the Wolf Cove Inn now. Puts out some really serious food. So I ended up connecting with him through Carrie Landry. And that's when I was like, okay, now we can really level it up. Kevin worked at Blue Hill Stone Barns, Noma, Aska, Maria, all these extreme places. Noma's in Copenhagen. It's known as one of the world's best restaurants. So to be able to say you worked with someone like that, and to be able to work with someone that has so many accolades, that's also so humble, and willing to teach you. Don't get me wrong, he has his moments of pretension, but how could you not?
How could you not?
Someplace like that.
I don't know if I've ever. If you are a chef and you make even a portion of your income at it, there's always a little bit of pretension. And I say that with love and appreciation, because that comes with like caring about your food and caring about how it's prepared and how you're eating it with your eyes and how it tastes on your palate. And I feel like that's the thing that defines a chef from a cook.
Yeah, I think people like also too. It's a big mental game. When I skied, it's like it's a big. There's no one else. It's like basketball. You got the guy in your face playing defense. They might try to psych you out. Skiing, it's just you. And that's kind of how it is with food. There's no one really in front of you other than the customer. And when they leave, especially with takeout, at least to dine in, maybe you can spy on them a little bit. You can peer around the corner. When we're in home, we can kind of look and see how are people reacting. It's like the second they walk out the door, you're like, oh my God, what are they going to think? Are they going to like it? Am I going to get blasted online? Am I going to get, a bad Google review? Am I going to get a great Google review? Yeah. So I think some people's like ego and pretension regarding food might be a coping mechanism at the end of the day, because they constantly beat themselves up about what goes out the door, so it's like,
that's
I get
right.
it. But Kevin is like the least pretentious guy for how pretentious he could be, and so I connected with him, and he really took, we started a small company, New England Dining Co., and that was kind of the basis of our catering, and a lot of it was based on open fire cooking. So we cooked over Argentinian style grills, fire pits, asados. It's become a really popular trend. There's a chef, Francis Mallman. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with his work, but he kind of, was the pioneer of open fire cooking. And so I joined forces with Kevin, and we started just putting out more and more food. And to circle back about my team, that's how the team was formed. I got with Kevin. I started, saying this. I was like, you got to come cook with me and this guy. I was like, you're gonna love it, And they started waiting tables and serving for these events, and it was like, okay, well, we went from having like no chargers. You know what charger is? The plastic big plate underneath the glass plate. We started with no chargers, maybe no real linen. It's like now there's probably 6 options of chargers you can choose from. We have hundreds of wine glasses, champagne glasses, different types of silverware and different colors and different finishes, so it's like, it's really evolved. And when you're part of something that's so cool like that, and a lot of these places that were hired out to do these events, they're pretty cool, like we have one Saturday for a gentleman that's pretty prominent in Salem, Massachusetts. And it's a 160-acre compound with a greenhouse shipped in from London, its own HVAC system. It's like olive trees. It's like, to be able to cook there,
you get to play in the fun spots.
You bring one person, and then they're like, hey, I got this friend I was telling them about it. They want to come and do it now, And it's like, so it was easy to build the catering team, It was hard to get people to be bought into Mancini's, more challenging than I thought, mainly because we do a lot of stuff, and in the beginning we've streamlined the operation to try to, one, improve culture, limit burnout, because if I'm getting burnt out and I have investment in it, I know that other people probably are. And stress and anxiety, those are big things in the kitchen, especially when it's like, you're on the go. when we started to open the place, it was like 60 hours of prep. You know, you had one person, Walter Jackson, amazing guy. He also worked at Luigi's. He's now, I think, at Legends. Super, super cool kid. He would spend an entire shift making our lasagna. And the crazy part is I was losing money on the lasagna. Not even from the labor perspective, just from the food cost, you know. And I was still getting kind of beaten up about portion size. I was like, man, what do you do? You know, I'm using
people don't
$12 dozen organic soy-free eggs. You know, we're using imported truffle cheese. You know, there's hours and hours going into making these lasagna sheets, blanching them. And so it's like we're trying to find our spot in the market and find a happy medium of how do we still deliver the product we want to deliver, but also make sure that the operation is feasible at the end of the day. And I think that's what a lot of restaurants, you know, have to figure out.
Totally.
So.
Totally. And truly shout out to Jenna at Blue Jay to give her a full shout out because she just also, she has partnered with us in the past and done like malt cider at Taste the Harvest. She's just such a proponent of downtown and the downtown scene. And what I think she does really well, which you even just did really well, Evan, is we talked about before you arrived the assumption that I think a lot of people make around how different restaurants are like competitive with each other, and in this downtown district, like what happens when you have new restaurants opening and what does that mean? And you know, Shivam was the first to say like that's a great thing. And I worked at Fuel what feels like a million years ago back in the day, and I worked there for 11 years. And Eric Agrin would get excited every time a new restaurant would open on Lisbon Street. And I just think Jenna is like today's version of that. You sharing what you just shared is the same, like being excited and lifting up other businesses in the same footprint in a way that shows like I want everyone to succeed and my success is wrapped up in everyone's success. And I think for us that's like kind of an underpinning to Taste the Harvest is we want to lift up all of the great food that's being produced, that's being grown, that's being prepared, and to highlight downtown Lisbon Street and downtown Lewiston as a place where that all comes together, not just on this one day of the year, but every day of the year. And so, you know, that's one of my favorite things. We got to give everyone else an opportunity to talk a little bit about the dish that they're preparing, and you mentioned just the beef. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're preparing at Taste the Harvest and some of your farm relationships?
Yeah, so we're doing a bolognese it's either going to be a spinach or basil malfadine. I just told Josh, he can do whatever's easiest for him.
Do you want to tell people what a bolognese and a malfadine?
Yeah, malfadine is like a rough. Imagine, so I explained a malfadine pasta like the ribbon edge of the lasagna noodle.
Yeah.
If you were just to cut that off, it's like this rough, long noodle that like looks like it would just catch any type of sauce or
which is what you want,
right? And a bolognese is is essentially a meat sauce. There's some strict difference between bolognese and a ragu. Off the top of my head I'll draw a blank, but I want to do a shot in the dark here and say one uses like a canned tomatoes, the other one uses just tomato paste. This bolognese recipe is actually kind of a fusion of some things that we've learned from my grandfather's cookbooks and also some things that we've gotten from Kevin. But the bolognese is essentially a meat sauce. It traditionally does have 3 different meats in it. You're looking at veal, beef, and pork. Where we're trying to be accommodating to everyone and the demographic of Lewiston, it's funny you mentioned the gluten-free because we have a small box of gluten-free malfadine that we're like, should we bring some just in case? And then I was like, you said that, and I was like,
I was just gonna say, I will bring.
Yeah, no, you said it. I was like,
because I want to bring my celiac husband and daughter, and I will come with gluten-free pasta.
No, if you could remind me, just so I don't forget. But I'll be close enough. I think I could run back and grab it. But yeah, so that and also the pork. It's for a couple reasons. There's some members of the community that don't eat beef would be able to eat pork, and there's some members of the community that don't eat pork would be able to eat the beef option. So we're hoping to be able to offer a couple different things. It's hard to be the Italian cuisine, in my opinion, is like the hardest thing to be dietary respective of for people's choices. I don't know if I said that right. There's so much dairy, there's so much gluten, there's a lot of meat.
Yeah.
It's like it's a very challenging thing. So and it's going to be topped with a little bit of like a whipped herb ricotta from Crooked Face Creamery. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Oh yeah, she's
great.
With
Amy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you go to Blue Jay, there's a gentleman named Travis Lindsay. He goes by Travis Tyler Photography.
Yeah.
Game changer for Mancini's. That kid came in. He's taken so many photos for us. He's done it at an amazing rate. I've tried to push him on so many other businesses because I just think he does an amazing job.
Yeah.
And he's like, if anyone's ever dealt with a photographer or an artist, sorry, I'm just saying, the communication sometimes is a little bit lacking.
You missed the part where I talked about how it can sometimes be challenging to talk to chefs and
I was going to say,
farmers.
I fall in the same category.
You all have
That's
your
why
unique needs.
But so it's like, Travis is unbelievably responsive, which for me, it's like I cannot be. So to have someone that like responds within 2 seconds and I don't have to worry about thinking of it hours later, he's totally changed, like, where the trajectory of Mancini's. And so he would also help me out, and he would run up to some of these farms and he would grab some of the products. We would love to use Crooked Face in all of our dishes. Don't get me wrong, but it just being transparent, we pay $17 a pound for ricotta. It's like, I'm not trying to be that guy. I don't even know if the steakhouses in town are paying that for their prime cuts of steak. So just being real. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But it's like $17 on ricotta to pass it off onto a consumer is like a $10 cannoli.
Yeah.
So there's just those things that when I talk about trying to find the happy medium, the outlet is like catering and doing these things like the Taste of Harvest and community stuff that we can do. But the deli has to be feasible. We don't want to just be here for 8 months. The idea is to try to beat the statistical odds of running a restaurant.
Please.
Yeah, which kind of goes back to your point of when I think people sometimes can come off as less supportive and they're a little fearful because they see like the timeline you have with the restaurant. Like if you make it like past 5 years, you're like in the 20th percentile, whatever. Like 20%, 80% of them fail in 5 years or something like 90%. So I think some people, their initial reaction is like, well, now they're in my window of when I can strike, So I get it too. I think it's like, it's hard for me not to feel like that sometimes. Even when you hear it's like, oh man, it's like, is that going to affect my revenue? I don't necessarily wish bad on them, but is it an honest thought in my head? Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that too, because these restaurants operate off like,
there's no
6% margins,
a restaurant.
and it's
real.
like it's absolutely insane. We've been blessed and fortunate enough where we have a super small overhead. But yeah, I get it. Like I would be lying if I said when I hear a new place open up, I don't think in my head I'm like, is that going to affect my revenue by 5 or 10% or something like that? So.
Yeah. Well, when the margin is tight, and I mean, food prices are already. I mean, you talk about it with your family. I have 3 20-year-olds and an 18-year-old that I also feed who still live at my house. And it's insane. It's insane. Groceries are insane. And so, and that's just like average kind of mass-produced groceries. And when you are able to get high-quality food and you're willing to pay for it and you have the privilege and ability to pay for it, which is not a side note, it's like a fundamental piece. Like I go to the farmer's market and I love getting things from the farmer's market, and it always costs me a little more. I also can always rationalize it, and I'm fortunate again to be able to pay for it. But the reality is like that's a thing that we're facing with Taste the Harvest. So we get to brag about the $6,000 to $8,000 that we put directly into the food economy when you buy your Taste the Harvest ticket. We're purchasing the ingredients for the chefs. When Evan or Shivam or Casey or Sam at Orchid or Annette at Nutty Netties, when they Craig at Da Vinci's, when you guys say yes, we'll do it. We're paying for all of the food ingredients and purchasing as much as we can from the local market. And then the chefs and restaurants are dedicating their labor to this effort. And so like that's why we sell the tickets. That's what the money goes to. We're literally putting thousands of dollars into the local food economy. But man, I couldn't do it every day because like you have to be mindful of the margin. Shout out to our sponsors. Our top sponsor is the city of Lewiston, who also believes in businesses in the downtown. But like that for us is the fundamental math of how the event can work. And so, when we're thinking about the long-term outcomes and goals of Taste the Harvest, part of what we come back to is like, if we can get a local restaurant to identify 1 or 2 local ingredients, buy your potatoes from Belanger's or Bell's, right? Like, it doesn't have to be, and it's sometimes not sustainable, right, Evan, to have every ingredient be the top of the line local ingredient. Just start purchasing more local and figure out where you can fit it in your margins. And so, like, for us, that's part of, some of the restaurants we've worked with over the years for Taste the Harvest, didn't necessarily engage with local farmers, didn't have local food items. Like Evan, you're coming to the table already with local relationships and already featuring local food. But for some folks, that's been part of the conversation that we've had to have and introduce someone to and be able to give them an ingredient list and a price list and relationships with farmers. and for them to realize like, oh, I just thought local food would be too expensive, and they are able to find a couple of ingredients and a couple of relationships that help make it work while still being able to feature some local food. And so like, I think everyone, as you're talking about, Evan, is like trying to find that balance. And I don't know, Stephanie, if that's a good opportunity to talk about the local food action plan, because at the end of the day, the local food action plan is a strategy supported with the Good Food Council and so many of us other partners in community, but it is a strategy around that balance. It's how do we create a local food economy, support a local food economy, and what are the economic tension points related to that?
Totally.
So I don't know if you want to share a little bit more. Or?
Yeah, well, I wanted to lift up, Evan, that you're doing an amazing job about working with local farmers. A couple weeks ago at a council meeting, Chloe from Open Art Farm was saying that she was selling you tomatoes for your caprese sandwich and that she didn't have enough for you. And then Becca chimed in, who's a part of the Androscoggin Gleaners, and was like, oh, Kina from Little Ridge Farm has too many tomatoes. Like, I'm going to send her a text and say that she needs to reach out to Evan. And it was this like beautiful kismet moment where you had the demand and the farmers were like, hey, there's no competition here. Like, let's make sure that everybody has the best caprese sandwich of their life. So thank you for all that you're doing. That's
a challenge too. We don't always get to use stuff. You know, like we bought a whole case of peppers from them once. They sat there for 2 days. We're like, we have nothing to do. We just gave them away for free at Blue Jay. You know, it's not something we're going to do all the time, you know, but it does happen. Like, it's good to circulate good food. Yeah. Not many people have access to it, you know, and it's funny, like, not to cut you off really quick.
You're good. Go for it. Yeah.
But you talk about the interconnectivity and, you know, you're like, oh, well, you're already doing this. I didn't mean to. I knew Josh Petroselli prior to when he was making pasta, prior to when I had a sandwich shop.
Oh, neat.
Peter Bolduc from Rock Mountain Farms was like the president of Holy Cross when I went to school there. And you know, so I kind of grew up with him as a young child. Bell Farms, I just so happened to work there because my family was close to the Bells. And that was my first job when I was 16.
Aww.
You know, so it's like Chloe and Grant bought John and God, why am I running a name? I hope they don't listen to us. Basically, John Bolduc's and Karen and John Bolduc's old farm.
Yeah.
And so they went and started the Colburn Spoon Factory up like in Greenville or Greenwood, right next to Mount Abram. So it was like, it's all by chance. You know, it's like I didn't really mean for any of this to happen. And I wonder if it too, I'm like, man, maybe it was slightly aligned to that way. But I think there's a lot of people that are taking a step in the food industry. Yeah. You know, so, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's the relationships, and that's part of what, you know, what you're talking about, Evan, is all these relationships and how those relationships have this through line of local food. And like, you might not have set out, but because of those relationships and because of your exposure and values, you landed where you are. And in my work, which had was pre/establishment of Good Food Council, and then through the action plan, in addition to the goals and the strategies and the policies and all of the kind of technical pieces, I think fundamentally underneath it all is that the Good Food Council and through the action plan is creating places for relationships to get created, to do exactly what you were just describing, Stephanie, in that meeting is like, oh, let's solve this problem and let's connect the tomatoes to the right. Like, it's knowing people and having those relationships that result in or amplify the outcomes that we're trying to get in like technical ways.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, we see LFAP as helping give definition and direction for LA's unique food system. LFAP, Local Foods Action Plan.
Yeah.
It's created a container for different organizations to come together so that they're not siloed in their food systems work. And oftentimes when we meet as action leads, it's a time to share successes and challenges in our work and often foster that cross-sector collaboration.
Yeah, it's my favorite part. And so you shout out to Kina from Little Ridge Farm. She has an incredible CSA program and a really great farm. She was our, I don't want to say token farmer, because I think that tokenizes her in a way is like not accurate. She's
kind of the token farmer.
But she's kind of a like,
all the time.
she's like, she's really, she
I
like,
say that with love,
she
love sitting here in the sun shirt.
Same. Like, she's like all willing. She willingly acknowledges and owns that role, which is like, the reality is farmers are hard to connect with. Like Evan, you were talking about it. My kid's first job was also on a farm with Kathy Shaw. I mean, like, big, small world moment. But the reality is like, when you're in any of these positions that Stephanie or Sherie or I are in, let alone a restaurant owner, somebody who's trying to do purchasing for institutions, the reality is like getting a farmer on their email or to come to a meeting or to commit to like a long-term process where the outcomes and strategies being developed. It's like a big ask. It's a really big ask, and most people will be like, no. Like, I'll give you an afternoon. I'll give you some input. I'll answer the phone, but the tractor will be running and I'll be on it. And
It's literally
literally.
That's what our farmers market board meetings will look like.
Yes.
Well, somebody is on Zoom from the Johnny's Seed warehouse.
Yes.
On their tractor.
Yeah.
And similarly, how some of the sessions we did for the LFAP plan, collecting information, but people showed up.
Yeah.
And that's like your story, Evan, is like testament to what Maine is like, this big small town.
Yeah.
And what LFAP does is it sort of goes with that. It's like it takes the relationships that were maybe there, but creates a place for them to become stronger and all the work to be more coordinated. Like restaurants over here, farmers over here, service providers over here, with food pantry. But now we have local food going to food pantries and restaurants, and the work of the plan
And
schools especially.
Yeah.
And what the council does is to say, how about we like bring that all together even just a few times a year?
Yeah.
And how are we amplifying and supporting each other's work and making those like really profound, important connections?
The first year that we, when Shivam was saying yes to a picture in my head and I couldn't give him anything physically to like latch on to, Kino was the farmer who was helping us understand the best way to connect with farmers and to put together that like local ingredient, local contact list, and how like what business needs did farmers have. Farms are businesses and they need to do marketing and they still need to do invoices and QuickBooks, and like how do we support a good customer experience with a farm that increases farms businesses and outputs and productivity and grows the local food economy. And Kino was the one who was like, all right, let's explore this crazy idea, but you're coming to the farm. And so like we put on our boots, we went to the farm, and we like followed her while she weeded to get her insights so that we could both earn her trust and prove our worth, because I think that's important. Like you got to put the work in, and to get her to answer our questions and to brainstorm out loud with us. But like we're doing it row by row. Farm animals in the background honking and oinking at us, and
The cutest pigs.
Yeah, like exactly. And she's like, just shout out to Kina, because she also was a champ in that. But like when we talk about systems, this is what it looks like. I mean, you talk about convening different actors in a food system. That is what it looks like.
You need to meet people where they're at.
Well, that's the thing. And I think, we're a chamber of commerce, and chambers of commerce have a certain image that is historical. And for us here at this chamber, really being able to like break that whole, you're going to come to us, you're going to come to our table, we're going to host a meeting, I'm going to stand at a podium. Like I still do those things. I'm at a podium tomorrow morning. But the reality is, like, if you really want to grow the food economy, you have to get outside of the boardroom. You have to get out of the conference room and be able to meet people where they're at. When Justin is our events coordinator, and when he wants to connect with Evan, he gets a lunch out of it. He goes, he buys a lunch, and then he snags Evan while he's at work. And but I would tell you, engaging with all of the restaurants, we do almost all of that work through Facebook Messenger or on site with people. Yep. They're not responding to an email. And I wouldn't ask them to like that. I mean, we still send it so there's a record and you have it. But that's the whole point, is like you do have to meet people where they're at. And I think, And
everyone has different situations going on. But like I think there is like a general normal operator, and that's like me. And I'm striving to be better, obviously, and improve. Like my game is like I don't want missed emails. I don't want missed texts.
Well, sweetheart, you're like every other chef we talk to.
But there is
10 years, 20 years in the business. That's
there
like
is
normal.
other people though. There is operators that like they it is like I's dotted, T's crossed, and I think
they have a staff of 30.
Yeah, I know, but it's like sometimes it's like those are. I think it's cool to give those people their flowers too, because I think like people don't realize how hard it is to be organized every single day. And there is once in a while, sometimes I get glimpses of people's stuff and I'm like, man, this person just puts in that much more work than me. And it's like, and it's inspiring because there always is someone working a little bit harder, someone's floor is a little bit cleaner, someone's shelves are a little bit better placed. And it's like, you got to give them their flowers. Like, man, I got to show up earlier tomorrow. I asked Corwin from Chibo Pizza. I said, how did you find an extra hour in your prep? What did you do to speed up? He goes, I didn't. I just showed up an hour earlier. And I think that's sometimes what it is. It's like you just got to show up earlier. You got to stay later, you know. And there are people that do it, and that's how sometimes we pull off the events. And it's like you go into these farms and you see what they're doing and all that, and it's like that's a lot of work, you know. And it's like takes a support system. I bet you so many farms have like numerous amounts of family members that just go and volunteer their time.
Oh, totally.
You know, it's like if I paid my mom, dad, and brother for everything that they've come in and done for the deli.
There goes the margin.
Yeah. No, they're negative. I mean, we wouldn't even be in operation right now. So it does take a village, and I think it's like, you know, we've had people come in, like I can, you know, like the common thing we hear is like price comparison to like bigger chains and stuff like that, and it's like we're not going to beat that.
No.
We
Right.
never will. It's never
We
going to be.
often at the farmers market
not
would
the
go at the
goal.
question of like, why is
Why are the carrots this much?
money, or why don't you have mangoes? And we get that, you know, and it is to, and I will dispel a myth, which you said earlier, is that sometimes farmers markets are more expensive, but at the height of the season, particularly the produce should be and often is, and right now in this climate, if not comparative, often more affordable.
I just got the best deal on Brussels sprouts.
Yeah,
at the
you gotta
farmer's
like
market.
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Well,
and
we went to tomatoes. You know, we pay.
Yeah.
I'm pretty transparent. We pay $3.50 a pound, let's say, through Native Maine for tomatoes. I just went to the farmer. I said, if I buy all of your heirloom tomatoes to Jilson and to one of the New Roots Food Co-op, I said, could you beat $3.50? They're like, we'll do $3.
No,
you know?
and they will,
So
and
that's a lot. You know,
and it
and
goes
it's like,
back to that relationality, and that's why farmers. One of the reasons farmers market is a passion project of mine, or has been, is because in today's world, that face to face, that connection, that slowing down, that creating a space, that walkability and an urban core, all of those feels incredibly precious.
Yeah.
And it is that, you know, that's what makes a local food economy. Because I will tell you, during the pandemic, when things shut down,
It was
where
those
did people
relationships
go?
that fed- yeah.
They went to the farmers markets, not just here, everywhere.
Yeah.
And you know, farmers showed up week after week and still do. And you know, that to me is part of why I keep showing up, to keep supporting that work. And Taste the Harvest is one really amazing way to like highlight that and showcase that for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like that is why LFAP is also really cool, because we've been able to transform it into a website, because it is living and we are responding to the needs of the community as things come up and the landscape is changing. So yeah, in 2024, we built the LFAP website with help from Sam from Tide Pool Creative, who, Shanna, I think you connected us to him.
So Sam is somebody that I mentored a million years ago before he went to like college, and he's just been a constant thread in my life for, I don't know, 18, 15 years now. And the number of websites that he has built for me is ridiculous.
And for this community.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah, and he helped us build a dynamic and interactive website so that people can engage with the plan in real time. And so as the work of the plan is evolving and changing, I can update it.
Yeah.
Like I just go in and
It's
then
so
and then it's
amazing.
relevant. It's not a static plan sitting on a shelf getting forgotten, right? Like we can
Stephanie, what's the website we want to send people to?
lafoodplan.com.
Yeah.
And
there
it's
it
a
is.
place for storytelling too.
Yeah.
Like that was what we envisioned.
It's
like after we
beautiful.
did something, we had this plan, and like months in, it was, you know, because it's not a plan. It really is. We say it is. We say the local food action plan is a vision, and it's a map, right? And the terrain is changing, and we want to be able to show that map in real time. We want to show the players in real time. We want to be able to highlight all the cool things that happened at Taste the Harvest, and being in a website ended up being one of the best ways to do that, which makes it this like living, breathing thing, just like our local food system and economy.
Any last thoughts? I think for you, Evan, the question that I got to ask Casey and Shivam that I want to give you the same opportunity to answer is, like, why did you say yes to participate? Like, what is meaningful about Taste the Harvest for you? Or why do you use local food with or without Taste the Harvest? Like,
I mean, I think Taste the Harvest fits the Mancini's brand. Everything that we do, you know, I mean, it's like the farms we use, we probably have been there and done a dinner for them. You know, it's like that's what we wanted to do. If you look up New England Dining Co., it's like a farm to table, open fired, coastally inspired dinner parties for the awestruck. You know, and that's what we're going for. You know, is like we try to, and that's what Mancini's was born on. That's what it was funded from. Was us, you know, chasing the next dinner party, the next cool ingredient that is local to Maine. So it's like I don't know why I would have said no. I don't really say no to much. So it was a yes anyway. But I do think it is right in line with what
Yeah.
Mancini's does. So, yeah.
It's what we thought when we asked you. It was really like, that guy gets it. We've got to get him down here. We got to get him to say yes. I didn't know that you always said yes. I'm going to remember that in ways that'll be painful.
Well, that's my thing I'm working on now.
Yeah.
Kevin's made it very
That's where your
apparent after last
sustainability
week.
could come from, is like
he
putting
was
your hand down once
He's like,
in a while.
yeah, I caught him out of the right side. He's like, Evan just says yes too much. I was
Yeah.
like, I know I do.
It's a good learning curve. Stephanie and Sherie, I appreciate you guys joining us too. Any last thought that you want to throw in or encourage people to think about?
Well, it would just be awesome to let folks know what's on the horizon. So the farmers market's a big part of Taste the Harvest.
Yeah.
It's a great partnership we've been really excited about, and just want to say, hey, the farmers market's still open. You can check us out. We have core vendors that show up. You're going to show up every Sunday now through the end of November. And then we have rotating vendors that come in. We're open at 75 Lincoln Street, 9:30 to 1 p.m.
Yeah.
It's a great place to catch live music, get your local food. And
It's like a great family moment.
it's a great
or
family.
date moment
Shanna
on a
is there
Sunday.
regularly using the picture board we set up thanks to her.
It's so great. It's the kind that you get to put your face in and become
I
a
love
big.
I go to Shanna, what can we do to, what's some savvy things we can do to promote it for? She's like, I've got an idea for you. This isn't going to be
I have a
game
whole
changer."
series of photos that my partner Chad and I take of like being in random places in New England, and it's like Chad as a moose and Chad as a lobster. And shit
Yeah.
like-
and it works. We have lots of people taking it. It was
Yeah.
a great family friendly event every Sunday. And we also still we run kids programming. We still have senior and veterans programs. So first Sunday of the month, we also just launched a Friends of the Market program this year. So if you want to help us hold a little corner of what we do, which is we are much more than a market, including doing a lot of the placemaking that's happening right along the river front. We're a part of the River and Island Master Plan. We've got we've been putting fruit trees in. We put a new sign in. We've been greening the space, and we've got a mural on the horizon thanks to some funding from the Public Art Committee. So if you want to help us do that good work, just check out our website. And we are really excited to see you this next Wednesday. Not this Wednesday.
Yeah, because people can shop at
Yes,
Taste the Harvest.
people
A lot
will
of the
go-
vendors
yeah,
will
so-
be there.
A lot of the
We've got
vendors will be there.
That's
We have
And
17 vendors.
Yeah.
The majority of them come through our relationship with the farmers market. We have, I think, 5 makers and 12 value-added food producers. So not only do we have like the things you would expect if you have never been to a farmer's market and you're just picturing a farmer's market in your head. Yes, we have vegetables, and but there's like spicy staples is there with a whole bunch of spices, and there's just a huge variety
mainly
of
soap will be
things.
there with
Yeah.
their soaps and body products.
Face
So
painting. We've got face painting
Yeah, we've got a
there.
great face painter. So there's a range of things that you will often find at the market will also be at Taste the Harvest. So it's a great partnership. And I will say also, if you become a friend of the market this week, you are entered to win 2 free tickets to Taste the Harvest. So I know that's what we've got on the horizon. I know the council has a few exciting events happening this fall. I'm looking at you, Stephanie,
Yes.
because I don't know what those are.
Well, we'll be at Taste the Harvest. We're going to be tabling. And so if you want to connect more in real life, come on by. And if you want to learn about all of the actions that are part of the Local Foods Action Plan alongside LA Metro Chamber, who's leading Taste the Harvest, we want to chat and connect with you and talk about food systems work. We also have been piloting Farm Fridays and visiting different farms every week, bringing community members to really see where our food comes from and have hands-on immersive experiences together. We were just at Keena's farm, and we're going to be at Kathy's farm this Friday, and then moving on to the following week on the 24th, we'll be at Open Heart Farm in Auburn. So reach out if you want to get connected. And then on Saturday, the 18th, there is the Auburn Farm and Forest Tours Day, which is going to be an awesome event where you can go and tour all the farms in Auburn, meet rabbits, and see some potato caves, and we'll be tabling at that
Be careful.
as well.
If it's Kathy Shaw, she'll try to send you home with a rabbit. You might go
She
home
did
with my
a rabbit.
children in front of my mother.
And then you ended up with a rabbit?
No, I didn't. Because
Healthy ground.
because
Healthy
unlike
ground.
Unlike Evan,
You stayed strong.
2 children in, I have learned the value of no.
Stephanie, where's the best place for people to find more about these events? Because depending on when someone's listening, some of those dates might have passed, but you've always got stuff going on. Is there a one place stop that they can check in? Facebook, social?
Facebook, Instagram at Good Food Council LA. Also, our newsletter that you can sign up through our website, goodfoodcouncil.org.
Thanks, guys.
We're gonna get to know you. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna get to know you and what you're all about. We're gonna get to know just what makes you feel alive. We're gonna get to know how you build, lead, and thrive.
Build, Lead, and Thrive. Voices of the Androscoggin.